Picture yourself standing on a quiet residential street in a small American town where nothing ever seems to break the surface of everyday life. The air is still, almost unnaturally so, as if the world itself has paused for a moment. Rows of modest homes line the street, white siding, small porches, trimmed lawns, and familiar windows glowing softly in the daylight. It feels safe in a way that doesn't need to be questioned, but at the far end of the road, there is one house that disrupts that sense of calm. It doesn't matter whether you believe in anything beyond the physical world. The moment your eyes settle on it, something shifts. A faint tension rises in your chest, subtle, but undeniable. Like an instinct trying to warn you before your mind can catch up. It feels as if the house is aware of your presence, as if it has noticed you noticing it. This is the Villisca Axe murder house, one of the most infamous and disturbing crime scenes in American history, and a place many believe still holds on to what happened inside it over a century ago. The story begins in Villisca, Iowa, in the summer of 1912. Josiah Moore was a respected businessman, known in town for his steady work and reliability. His wife, Sarah, was deeply committed to her family and active in their church community. They had 4 children: Herman, Mary Catherine, Boyd, and Paul. To everyone who knew them, they were simply a happy, ordinary family living a peaceful life. On June 9, the Moores attended a children's church program at the local Presbyterian church. The evening was warm and calm, filled with music, laughter, and the comfort of routine. Parents watched proudly as their children participated in performances. Nothing about the night suggested anything unusual was coming. After the event, 2 young girls, Lena and Ina Stillinger, asked if they could stay overnight at the Moore home. They were friends with the Moore children, and sleepovers were a normal part of life in Villisca. Sarah agreed without hesitation. It was a simple act of kindness, one that would later become tied to an unspeakable tragedy. That night, the household went to sleep as it always did. Lamps were extinguished, rooms grew dark, and silence settled over the home. Outside, the town remained peaceful, completely unaware that something unimaginable was about to take place inside that house. Sometime after midnight, someone entered the home. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no shattered glass, no indication of struggle at the doors or windows. Whether the intruder was already inside or had entered unnoticed will never be known. What is known, however, is deeply disturbing. They did not bring a weapon. Instead, they retrieved the family's own axe from the shed outside. Then, they returned inside the house. The movement through the rooms was slow, controlled, and deliberate. There was no panic, no noise, no rush. It is believed the intruder paused in the hallway, listening to the sound of 8 people breathing in their sleep, each unaware of what was approaching. The first attack occurred in the parents' bedroom. Josiah Moore was struck first, the force of the blow so severe that it caused catastrophic injury. Sarah was attacked moments later, before she had the chance to fully wake or react. After that, the intruder moved through the house room by room. Each child was attacked in their sleep. Some were struck multiple times. Evidence later suggested that at least one child briefly awakened and attempted to escape, leaving signs of movement and struggle within the room. Blood patterns found on walls and furniture painted a terrifying picture of confusion and fear. The axe was used in different ways, sometimes with the blade, sometimes with the blunt side. That detail has unsettled investigators for decades. It suggested not just violence, but control, intention, or something far harder to understand. Finally, the intruder climbed the stairs to the guest room, where Lena and Ina Stillinger slept. They did not survive. By morning, 8 people were dead inside the home. But what happened after the killings is what continues to disturb people most. The intruder did not immediately leave. Instead, they moved through the house calmly. Mirrors were covered. Windows were draped with fabric or clothing. Even glass panels and doors were concealed, as if the person inside could not stand reflections, or did not want anything looking back at them. In the kitchen, food remained on the table. A plate was left unfinished. A bowl of water and blood-stained cloth suggested the killer had taken time to wash before leaving. There was no urgency in their actions, no fear of being caught, only control and calm. in the Stillinger girls' room. Investigators later found evidence that someone had stayed there longer than anywhere else. The positioning of objects and bodies suggested a lingering presence, as if someone had remained in the darkness long after everything was already over. When the bodies were discovered the next morning, Villisca was permanently changed. People rushed to the house, and the scene was quickly overwhelmed. Neighbors moved through the rooms in shock, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Fear spread through the town instantly. Doors that had once been left open were locked that very night. The investigation that followed became chaotic. Suspects were questioned and released. A traveling preacher was examined. A former associate of Josiah Moore was investigated. Rumors of similar crimes elsewhere added confusion. Confessions were obtained and later withdrawn. Leads collapsed. Evidence was mishandled or lost entirely. Eventually, the case went cold. No one was ever convicted. As time passed, the house began to develop a reputation far beyond its history. Visitors started reporting strange experiences. Footsteps echoing in empty hallways. Doors opening or closing on their own. Lights flickering without explanation. But the most disturbing reports involved children. Soft laughter heard in empty rooms. Whispered voices drifting through hallways. The sound of small feet running upstairs, followed by sudden silence. Some visitors reported hearing screams, brief, distant, and chillingly real. As if the moment of violence itself was still echoing through time. Eventually, the Villisca Axe murder house became known as one of the most haunted locations in America. People who spent the night inside reported being touched or grabbed by unseen forces. Some felt pressure on their chests while sleeping. Others woke with scratches they could not explain. Many described being pushed or pulled without warning. Paranormal investigators eventually arrived. During one investigation, a small object placed on the floor began to move on its own, slowly at first, then with more intent, as if responding to something unseen. Audio recordings captured something even more unsettling, a child's voice whispering in the dark, "Don't go upstairs." Despite the warning, investigators went upstairs anyway. One of them collapsed shortly after, later describing a crushing pressure on his chest, as if something invisible had struck him with overwhelming force. Many believe the attic is the most disturbing part of the house. Some say it is where the killer hid that night, waiting in silence as the family returned home and went to bed. Visitors who enter the attic often describe immediate unease. The air feels heavier. Breathing becomes difficult. The silence feels dense, almost alive, as if it is holding its breath. Even skeptics admit the atmosphere changes inside the house. It doesn't require belief. It only requires experience. Some believe the violence left an imprint on the house itself. Others think the place is trapped in repetition, endlessly replaying the events of that night. Whatever the explanation, the feeling remains consistent. The house feels aware. Today, the Villisca Axe murder house is open to the public. Tours are offered, and overnight stays are allowed. But not everyone who enters makes it until morning. Some leave early, unable to tolerate the silence, the cold spots, or the sensation of being watched. Others wake from dreams so vivid they feel real. Visions of figures standing at the foot of their bed, holding something in the dark. And the most unsettling truth remains unchanged. The killer was never caught. No one knows who walked through that house. No one knows how long they stayed. And no one knows if they ever returned. So when you walk those narrow hallways and hear the floor creak behind you, when the air suddenly turns cold without reason, one thought keeps returning. Did they ever truly leave? Or is something still there, waiting in the darkness, reliving the night that never ended? If you ever find yourself in Villisca and see that quiet white house at the end of the street, remember the family who went to sleep believing they were safe. And if you step inside, don't be surprised if it feels like the house is watching you leave.